in light of COVID and everything else that's gone on, one of the things that I've wanted to do is provide fitness professionals and businesses with discussions with people that can help them better manage their business or their career moving forward. And I'm very pleased to be able to chat today with Mr. Steve Grant of Gym Hub. Thank you for joining me, Steve.
Hey, Dennis, thanks for jumping on Zoom. It's good we don't get to see each other in person as often at the moment, so it's good to jump on Zoom and chat about all things industry related.
Yep, it is. And I absolutely love talking about industry. Could do it till I'm blue in the face. And I think that's why I've been in the industry for so long. One of the things I want to launch straight into is what can businesses do to get back to their pre-COVID numbers as quickly as possible now that we can open?
So I've got my own gym, and I guess that's where the sort of passion started for us. So we've got a gym in Rushcutters Bay called Rushcutters Health, and that was definitely the first priority for us, was trying to get back to where we were prior. And yeah, fortunately we've managed to get past back to pre-COVID numbers, but also be doing sort of record billing in terms of direct debit, which I didn't know if that was actually possible in a COVID year. So I'll give you a couple of ideas. If you're watching the video and you have a pen, it might be worthwhile writing down. These are some of the things that worked well for us. The first one, I think your low-hanging fruit, or the easiest actually win in getting back to profitability, is going back to your pre-COVID members and making sure as many of them as possible are training. We definitely lost some members forever. So people that had lost their jobs, people who were sort of high risk, perhaps in their 70s, have actually put in their notice and cancelled altogether. But there's actually a large number of people that didn't sort of come back straight away when we reopened the gym. And I think putting focus on sort of reaching out to them via email, via messenger, calling them up and, inviting them to come back into the gym and sort of seeing for themselves that it's safe and that you are really on top of all the safety protocols is definitely a good start.
And you mentioned that you lost a few members. One of the things that I have heard across different states and different facilities is that there has been a really solid return from a lot of members and clients. Yep. Did you find that there was a significant number of people came back? Was it a surprise for you if they did?
So there was a for our gym, we've got like a premium price model, so we charge a bit more than most gyms, and we include a lot of additional services like semi-private or personal training. And because of our proximity to the city, a lot of our members are corporates, and they are people that were fired or lost their only source of income. So we lost probably just over 25% of our members for good because of COVID. Yet some of the clients that I've mentored that are in Sydney or based in different states in Victoria or Brisbane have actually sort of bounced straight back to about 90% of their members, particularly if it's a 24-hour gym, particularly if they're not sort of, all based around those clientele that are in events or management or the ones that were most affected, pilots and etc.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And and of those 75% that came back, so presumably you launched into a campaign to reach out to these pre-COVID members and get them back in.
Yeah.
For those that didn't come back, was there any difficult conversations there, or was it all fairly business-like?
It was unusual, and it's I was jumping on the phones and calling a bunch of people because I wanted to understand what the objection might be and where their sort of comfort level was. We were sort of proactive, so we were doing one-on-one training in the park when that was the only option. We were doing virtual training, so we were trying to keep them sort of entertained during the time that the gym was closed, but. We had to be quite what would you say? We had to work quite hard to actually get people back into the gym. So examples of that is we've set up like a little COVID station as people walk into the gym. So you pretty much would trip over it before you'd be able to come into the gym. And the idea with that is visibility. We want to make sure that everyone understands that we are taking it seriously, that we're doing, other different protocols to look after their health, but we sort of want them to buy into it as well. So we, as well as having like that little station when they came in, we're communicating to them via email and social media every single week. So we created this little tile which has Rushcutters Health COVID safety protocols, and it talks about social distancing, and it talks about no shared equipment, and the sanitizer wipes, and all the different stuff we were doing. But what I find is it's not good enough just to kind of share that out to the guys once, because as soon as they get a news cycle that there's another bad case in South Australia, or that there's an issue overseas or something like that, they quickly then become fearful again. So you have to keep doing it. And I think personally we'll have to keep doing it for the next kind of 3 to 6 months, just to compensate for all the negativity on the radio and on the news. So COVID station at the front door, making sure that like they see and they acknowledge that we're into it straight away. Weekly emails and social media, but also with your marketing. So if you are actually creating like a Facebook ad, or if you're creating a landing page, it's really important right now that you're actually putting in the steps and the actual details about how you're ensuring that people stay safe. Otherwise, people don't respond to those invites to come back to the gym, and they don't respond to your invite to come in and do a trial.
Okay. All right.
I noticed, for example, on Facebook, if you use the word COVID at the moment, that it's quite difficult to get your ad through. So my only recommendation, if you're sort of promoting and running paid ads on Facebook at the moment, is try and avoid the word COVID. Maybe just suggest the strictest cleaning protocols or something like that. And you and I know we're talking about COVID, and that's why we've actually listed it. But I think a lot of ads around that have the words COVID-19 are being sort of picked up with that Facebook algorithm. As a result, they're being automatically refused. So they don't go live until you go through like that review process. So yeah, perhaps try and avoid that word, so you're not sort of put in the same basket of these people trying to sell dodgy things for, heat lamps and stuff for COVID.
Look, we've had the same thing. We've got a weekly newsletter, and that newsletter has, every time I try and put the word COVID in, I get the spam alert. And so I've got to actually try and work out how to word the whole thing so that people know I'm talking about COVID and coronavirus without actually saying COVID and coronavirus. So yeah, it's absolutely a thing, avoiding those words if you want to get your message to actually cut through.
Yeah, and don't forget that your marketing is not just the prospects, your marketing's to your members as well. So even pre-COVID, you had to always remind your members why you were safe and why you were the best option in town. Otherwise, people start to lose faith in you, and they might sort of look at other options. And I think that's really important, that you're actually getting that message in front of the general public often. With like little video updates have worked really, really well from us, which are just genuine. It's just filmed by your staff. You just do it on your phone, and you just give them updates. And the best way to do it, I think, is thanking people. So you show gratitude, and you log in and you say, hey, on behalf of myself and the team at Rushcutters Health, we really want to thank you, the Rushcutters Health members and our local community, for your support in sort of getting us through this tough time, but also in following the safety protocols, so we can ensure our staff, but also you guys, can train safe. And you put a video on like that, and people grow confidence in you, but they also, they don't always like training in a mask or something. If they're in Victoria, they don't always like having to wash their hands on the way in the door. So a little bit of recognition goes a long way.
Okay. And have you had many new members come through? And if you have, what sort of objections, like how do you sort of account for their concerns about COVID? You mentioned a lot of stuff about the obvious station, your tiles and things like that going on. Is there anything else that you would add to that for people that are seeing Rushcutters for the first time?
So we spoke about this prior to the call. So I wrote down a couple of notes. The sales process has kind of changed a little bit because of COVID-19, and I think you have to address it. If you don't, you'll often be doing really well in a tour or on a phone chat where it feels like the prospect is interested in taking that next step, and then it just comes to a grinding halt where even though they like you and they like the pricing and whatever, they just go, oh, but I'm just not sure if I want to train right now. So I think you've got to be sort of preemptive. So a couple of, there's probably 3 steps I'd suggest in the sales process and how to adjust your approach right now. The first one is get in first. So my recommendation is when you call back an inquiry, an online inquiry or something like that, find out a little bit about their goals, but then jump in and actually give them an update on what you do to ensure that they stay safe. So you might sort of say, or I might say, hey, Dennis, thanks for your inquiry on Facebook. I'm kind of keen to find out a bit more about your goals. Like, tell me about X. And then you'll start chatting. And then before I actually show you the prices or ask you to take the next step, I think it's really important that I jump in and I say, look, at Rush Cutters Health, something our members really love is, how strict and how we're quite diligent when it comes to all things around safety and cleanliness. So we're doing A, B, C, and D. And as a result, everyone feels confident to train. So if you can actually get in and say it and actually put that in their head that that's no longer an issue, you're actually going to help to overcome an objection that's probably coming later in the conversation. But I always find it's better if you address it yourself rather than you trying to respond to their concern or their fear later in the chat. I think when you do it later in the chat, it feels salesy. It feels like you're just trying to answer or give them any sort of response to make them buy. But in reality, you could have handled it earlier in the chat.
Yep.
Number 2 is listen to their objections. So if they are fearful and if they are at risk, or you don't quite know if they've had direct family members affected by it or whatever, I think you want to really listen to their objection and sort of help them work through it. It's not a sales process. It's just people skills, and it's just being a good human, I think, at this point. We use the 3 steps of feel, felt, found. So I might say, look, I understand how you feel, Dennis. One of our other members named Dave felt the same when he rang up a couple of weeks ago. But what he found was when he came in, we've actually got heaps of space. So there's no shared equipment, and you're not sort of standing next to someone while they train. What he found was, and you just sort of go through that list of feel, felt, found, we use an example of someone else, like a third person. I find that strategy to be really useful. And the last one is lower the risk. So if you're getting someone on the phone and you sense that they feel a little bit better because you've told them about your safety protocols and you've listened to their concern and sort of used that feel, felt, found 3 steps, I think the next step isn't to actually try and sell anything, but it's almost just to lower the risk. So something we do a lot is we encourage the guys to say, look, don't take my word for it. What I'd much prefer you to do is actually just come into the gym, and you'll see for yourself whether you feel comfortable to be, returning to your training and sort of getting back into fitness right now. And no obligation. If it's not, that's okay. At the same time, you might feel that it's the right time. So yeah, get in first, listen to their objections, and lower the risk would be my 3 sort of suggestions in the sales process for adjusting the way we do it now versus before the pandemic.
Okay, so when you say lower the risk, you mean lowering their sense of risk?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, nice one. Right. And in certainly, again, I spoke before about how people seem to be very keen to get back into their fitness. Is it an easier sell these days with everyone's awareness of better health being, something that helps you get through COVID? Have you sensed that people are keen to do things a bit more seriously now?
I think there's always been demand there for training, but I think anything, like if you take restaurants away from people for a few months, the first thing they want to do is get out to a restaurant when they can. And I think we've experienced that same thing in fitness. We've like last month for us was the highest number of sales we've made since the gym's been open for years.
Wow.
And I think that's an indication that people are starting to feel less at risk, and they're just dying to feel good again. And, you know, there's so much negativity out there, and probably hasn't been a great focus around their health, because it's just like survival mode for a lot of people around work and stuff. So I think there's a lot of optimism and a lot of, I think because of some of the gym owners and fitness professionals are, still in recovery mode and haven't really got back into any rhythm. I think there's huge opportunity for those that are proactively marketing and who are, getting back into delivering their product with some real, some real sense of urgency.
Yeah. Okay. Throughout that lockdown, obviously you work with a lot of different fitness businesses. I'm just throwing stuff out at you now that we haven't spoken about previously. But have you seen what is typical of the more resilient facilities and the more resilient businesses?
So, like during the pandemic, I think those higher priced models with fewer members probably did a little bit better, because they were able to sort of do personal training in the park, or they were able to keep, $40 a week or something coming in for virtual training. Yeah. However, they've been the slowest ones to sort of bounce back. I've seen since the doors have reopened, I think a lot of people have just automatically returned to like 24-hour gyms. Yeah. In terms of brands and like, I guess if you get past the model, I think it's just the owners and the staff who are optimistic. I train in different gyms all the time because I love watching the group class. I love, seeing who's doing what well. And, if your staff are talking about the pandemic to your clients, it's not the escape from the press that they were looking for. It's not that sort of rejuvenation of energy that they're looking for. And I think, the gyms that are recovering the fastest outside of like those, the models I suggested at the start, are definitely the ones where the leaders are optimistic, and they're actually making sure that the staff are giving people a little escape from all the rubbish in the press, and helping them to focus on something and putting a plan in place for the future, rather than sort of just, taking it day by day, which most of us have been doing for months this year.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. All right. Now back to the program.
Yep.
Regarding the industry, what do you think is going to be the fitness industry's response generally over the next 6, 12, 24 months?
Look, I think it'll be an extension of what we've seen already. There's definitely an element of the fitness industry, like every industry, who feel victimized and feel, and if the best thing, we can encourage everyone in the industry, I think, is just to play on, look for what you can do. I remember when there was sort of lockdowns and stuff like that, looking at like local restaurants and how they were being quite adaptive and quite optimistic, and just finding ways to do takeaways, or they're doing 1-hour sittings and stuff like that. And I think if the fitness industry just looks at what we can do, even if they're limited class spaces, or what we can do with, selling premium product or whatever, challenges, that type of stuff, they're definitely going to be the businesses that do really well. But I think there's going to be this great divide. And that's what I'm seeing at the moment. There's still a lot of people like spending a lot of time on social media saying, I think it's rubbish that we can't do X. Whereas the rest, like the other half of the industry and that big gap, are the ones that have just got on with it and gone, well, it's not the same, but there's still heaps we can actually do. And I encourage people to sort of understand that it's actually us as the owners and as the fitness professionals that choose which of those baskets we choose to sort of sit in, not the media and not the actual circumstances around us. So I think it'll be a tale of sort of two towns.
I do agree with you. I think there is a lot of that. I think those that have really adopted that, the obstacle is the way sort of approach to this whole situation are those that seem to be getting more on top of it, and essentially coming out of it more easily and probably more successfully, rather than those that in the alternative camp that are sort of questioning a number of different things. With regards to businesses, fitness businesses moving forward, would you say that, do you think that businesses, professionals need to look more at an online offering or diversifying their income because of the pandemic and the threat of future pandemics? Should they be looking at alternative ways to make money that doesn't require that face-to-face contact?
Yeah, I think additional revenue streams is good for every business.
Yep.
I think if you can find ways to sell more things to your followers, you don't need as many members. You don't have to be as reliant on like real aggressive sales tactics or anything like that. And yeah, I think if you've gone to the trouble of creating an online platform or some type of offering, it's crazy not to just keep that available for people. You can even go outside of like most people aren't going to come to my gym unless they live in that sort of 1 kilometer radius, because there's just so many other gyms that they could have gone to that are closer. But what's cool about the online offering is we could be helping people all over the country or all over the world that might be interested in what we do. So yeah, I think it makes sense to keep that as an offering and just continue to kind of build it out. Yeah, we don't know, do we, whether there'll be other pandemics or little mutations of the current one. And, I'm sort of just prepped mentally to just roll with the punches. If something comes up or a variation of it in a couple of years' time, you just go, all right, well, what do we do? We've already, like in the first instance, I think we're given 24 hours to shut. We had virtual classes going live on Zoom within sort of 24 hours, and they weren't great. But what we got better at was fine tuning it and becoming better instructors for online. And we had to learn some new skills. So I think it's a great idea to diversify.
Will you continue with any of those online offerings?
So for ourselves, right now, we've actually phased away from that offering, but we definitely ran a hybrid model for a few months because the percentage of, remember what I said, 25% just didn't come back. Some of them that were members said that they would, but we just don't feel comfortable doing anything right now. So we actually kept like a hybrid option. So you could do like face-to-face training or online training as part of that schedule. We sort of kept that going for like 3 to 6 months until we got back to at least pre-COVID numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen any other innovations in that sort of sphere? Are people taking a new direction or adding a new string to the bow?
Look, I like virtual training that's interactive. And I think our skill set as face-to-face fitness professionals is relationship based, and it's the energy and it's the connection that you have. And I think the advantage that you and I might have if we were running a class over like an uber successful, someone like Kayla at Signs or whatever, who's been doing it for years, is that we can have a personal connection when we deliver it. And I think that's the innovation, because online training's always been like out to the masses, and it's almost like watching a video. What's actually evolved is in my opinion, all the best fitness instructors that have come out of bricks and mortar gyms went online for a period of time, and all of a sudden it became like interactive, like you're in a class where you're saying, hey, Dave, make sure you straighten the elbows out when you're above the head, or okay, just switch on your core. Like that type of stuff has never really happened in the online space. So I think it's actually forced a lot of the online operators that were there the whole time to lift their game. And I think it's been good to just raise the bar as an industry, because it's still obviously the same industry.
Yep, indeed.
It's online,
all right. Is there anything else that you would add for professionals or businesses out there that are looking to really ramp things back up again, especially as we move into 2021?
So I would definitely get back into marketing your services. There's a time there with uncertainty where you tend to sort of shrink up and you think, well, keep my overheads low, keep my expenses low. But the way out of this, the way to get back to profitability and keep your business growing is to go back to regularly, monthly allocation of a marketing budget and just getting your brand out there in front of people. Um, the other one I would sort of flip back to you, Dennis, is I think a lot of people stopped hiring during that period. And, we're all going to experience a bit of a kick along because of the warm weather and stuff like that in terms of inquiries. I'm wondering what you can kind of recommend in terms of finding the right people now as some of that government support starts to drop off and people start looking for jobs again.
Yeah, I think absolutely there is going to be a scramble for staff as we go into 2021. We've seen a number of professionals have left the industry, or they picked up another job and they've stuck with that job when COVID hit. There has been a bit of a thinning of the industry a bit, but I do believe that people should begin that recruiting push in one form or another as soon as they can if they're looking to build things up in 2021. You mentioned earlier about how there are some people that might be still a bit dazed and confused from the whole lockdown, and it's an opportunity if you've got your head in the game to be able to push forward and really make some gains during this period. And I think just as you're saying about the marketing, getting your brand out there, I think now as much as any is a great time to get your name out there and get your brand out there, because there may be competitors you had out there at this time that haven't quite got themselves together, or they're still a bit unsure as to what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing applies for finding staff. I think now's the time to be actively looking for new staff. I'm going to be very interested to see how things go over Christmas and that Christmas New Year's period, because typically things do slow down a lot then. But we've been in such a lockdown period. I think people are ready to just get going and keep going. So,
Yeah.
I think it's possible that there will be a lot of people that are actively looking for the right staff for their facilities.
Yeah, it's like from my experience working with gyms, you generally want more members or you want more staff, and it's kind of one or the other. And my experience working with gyms in Queensland and Sydney and those states like Perth and WA that have come out of COVID a bit earlier is that they've rebounded really well and are doing record numbers. And I'm sure Victoria's going to do the same thing. So I think you're right. I think you need to be preemptive, like getting in there and actually looking for competent people now, because you will get to capacity, your classes will be full, and you'll be sort of, I guess the only thing worse, in my opinion, than being asked to shut your gym where you're losing money is where you've actually got opportunity to make more money, but you're not organized for it.
Yeah. I think you're right. Absolutely. Like if you've got the training clients coming in, you want to make sure you've got the people that can mop them all up and
Yeah.
keep going.
I think December, January won't sort of have as many suspensions as we've seen in the past because people want to train. I think we'll keep getting a lot of inquiries during that period because people won't be going overseas to visit relatives. And yeah, we'll probably, in my prediction is we'll have a higher turnover in December and January than we've seen in previous years. So at the same time, there'll be staff having a little break there, being a bit reflective, going, have I got a career path here? Am I happy here? And that's where I think if people can actually create a point of difference in their ads, if they're advertising on healthy people and get the right talent now, that they're going to be unstoppable come into the start of the new year.
Yeah, I agree. I think the best thing is to be prepared to hit the ground running from, day one, January 2021. In anything else that you would add?
No, that's all.
Yeah. Look, I think I believe strongly that there's a lot of very optimistic people out there, and that they are all looking forward to a very big 2021. And I think, like you say, there does tend to be two camps of people out there, but I would also say that those people that seem to be forging ahead in the best possible way are in one particular camp more than the other. So, you know, I'm very excited about 2021. I mean, this is like an unheard of experience for all of us. And to be able to talk about, to be able to see what happens and see where the industry progresses, I think is extraordinarily exciting.
Yeah, I think so. I'm really optimistic about the recovery. I think there'll be more people in fitness next year than any time in history. And I think you're right. Like you pressure people financially or pressure them around like a global pandemic, and they go back to family, they go back to health.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as we can actually position our product and service as something that helps them rather than just, you know, a membership card that they're going to swipe, I think there'll be a lot of fitness professionals growing and you know, running really profitable businesses in the next 12 months.
Super. Thank you very much for your time today, Steve. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you, Dennis. Always good to chat. Let's do it again.
Well, cheers. Thanks.